The following is a transcript of a conversation between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am. Me. When in yesterday's lineup, you made me remind everyone that the sacred food is forgiveness, I was able to realize what that concept really meant. In many religions this exists, but in different ways of looking at it. From the Christian religion, the concept of forgiveness is to forget the evil or mistake that another person has committed, which maintains the idea that there is a victim and a victimizer, a guilty and an innocent. But actually, it doesn't work like that. I am. These concepts are moral or ethical versions of the one who lacks something and the one who has something. As we talk of atoms, one has something the other needs. If I am prepared to give, naturally and by law of equilibrium, I will receive what I need. You have turned this into a form of social values, in which the one who needs is poor and the one who has is rich. And to this you have added an emotional concept, that the one who lacks something can seek to steal it from you and make the mistake, the sin, and who has will be the victim. Although now you can also see that the atom that has more strength can steal from the one that has less also and leave you with nothing. In a moral vision, that act of taking something from the other, whether you are full or lacking in things, is what creates the perspective of victim and victimizer. Thus, the concept that you used to know as give and take, as energy exchange, is transformed into the moral concept of blame or forgive. Your whole system of values, of justice, of the search for balance is based on this. He who has made a mistake must repay society for that mistake or fault by asking for forgiveness or being imprisoned. And it is in the morality of the perpetrator the decision to forgive this person or not. But the truth is that whoever commits an insult does so in the absence or need. And I'm not just talking about a poor man in need, but also a powerful man who has lost his self-love. Control, narcissism, paternalism, the character of superiority, all this is also the product of a personal lack. Me. In other words, what is needed to balance this is that we all learn to give so the circuit would come into harmony. I am. It is normal for humans to have a certain suspicion of giving because all of human history has been about surviving. And to survive winter, you have to work hard in summer and accumulate reserves that allow us to travel through the cold comfortably and safely. And the first ones we will protect will be our own, the family. For this reason, we have created a vision of accumulation. We have first accumulated food, then wealth, then emotions, pain, grudges, then information. And so we continue trying to become owners of things, people, and emotions, trying to control them and make them our own. The concept of giving without expecting anything in return goes against all biology. No atom or cell will give anything by losing. It always seeks to complete the circuit, otherwise it is a failure. Nevertheless, when you wake up and become conscious, you recognize that life is infinite, and still you will die, and nothing you accumulate will you be able to take with you, and therefore it makes no sense to accumulate, but to live what you have. Thus, when from unconsciousness you accumulate from fear of losing, in consciousness you recognize that by giving, you make all yours. Now the world belongs to you in that extensive chain of giving and receiving. Me, it's almost like a barter. I am. Yes, but don't get me wrong. It has nothing to do with an economic system, but with a value system. It does not imply material goods, but human attitudes. Many confuse this circuit with communism, socialism, or medieval barter, but in reality, thinking that is like believing that a tree should be the same as grass, so that everyone has the same possibilities of giving and receiving. No. On the contrary, each one has its own way of doing it. Some grow more than others, but all deliver, bear fruit, release oxygen, create nutrients, a home and food for the forest. Me. I understand. I am. And this is when, in consciousness, we heal our relationship with the word forgiveness. As I said, forgiveness comes from the concepts to give, which in a certain way means let go. Free myself and the other from a preconception, from a prejudice. However, it goes much further, and it has to do with the fact that forgiveness is not forgetting, but rather it is the delivery of a potential, the potential of regeneration. Start a new cycle again. It is to use duality not as an opposition, but as a complement. You humans have dualized everything in your lives to the point of believing that the dual is opposite when it is not. For a bike to move forward, you need 2 pedals. For a tree to bear fruit, you need roots on one side and leaves on the other. For a baby to be born, you need an egg and a sperm. Duality is the engine, giving and receiving. Me. Forgiveness allows me to remain free on the path of life. I am. Withholding judgment generates the oxidation of my duality, stopping the machinery, generating sparks that you will call resentment, anger, rage, which will try to be processed by your liver and your gallbladder. And when you can't cleanse the physical, the information will pass into the waters of your body and your kidneys will try to purge this emotion. But if you still can't, frustration will appear, and with it the fear that it will repeat itself. Forgiveness is a form of energy. It is giving what I have in me, recognizing the importance of it, and freely, without expecting anything in return. I release the control of the energy that I was holding in me. When you manage to forgive, you go from the animal stage of biological survival to the spiritual stage of the consciousness of being. Well, as I said, your prehistoric brain seeks to accumulate to satisfy its needs, not realizing that by giving, sharing what little I have, I increase my chances of receiving more from many others. The stingy will have things. The one who delivers will have opportunities. Me. Thus, forgiveness ceases to be a way of forgetting the fault of the sinner and becomes a delivery of possibilities for the sinner to become a useful agent. It is an exchange of energy. I am. There is the challenge of the perpetrators. Me. Change the concept of forgiveness. I am. And for this, they need to reactivate the machinery. Me. And how is it done? I am. Well, how can you light a fire to generate energy in your body so that the gears turn again? Me, I need a lot of energy, the kundalini. I am. And being in a physical world, how do you activate the kundalini? Me. From the energies that are in my body, all the emotions together. I am. And where are the emotions, the energies of your body? Me. All this data are in the cells, plasma, and the water of my body, and the energy of the electrons that form me. I am. And where do those electrons get their potential? Me. From the combination of new chemical compounds which are mixed in the body. I am. And how do you get those elements? Me. Eating, drinking, digesting, by absorbing nutrients in the kidneys and intestines. I am. In the water chakra, in the sacrum, the sea of inner creation. Me, which is governed by the adrenal glands. I am. Which, taking all the potential of this energy that your kidneys and intestines generate, by absorbing new potentiality, activate what? Me. Adrenaline, the hormone that gives energy and power to the body, the one that makes us act, have strength, push forward. I am. What for the soul is called will. Me. In other words, the key to forgiveness is in the will. 2 concepts I would never have related. I considered that forgiveness was in the heart, not in the kidneys. I am. Humans always believe that beauty is in the heart and shit is in the intestines. It is like thinking that it is the economists of the central bank who feed you and not the peasants who get muddy every day to harvest food in the field. Me. It makes sense. I am. The act of forgiving from unconsciousness is interpreted from the heart because it makes us believe that we are kind to the sinner. However, forgiveness goes further. It implies taking action. Acting with the will to give myself to service, to make the sinner become a coherent actor in the chain of giving and receiving. One acts in dissonance because he has not found harmony. Imagine the piano. Think that each piano key, all 88, are people. There are then very low and dense notes and very high and subtle notes. We all tend to ignore both in the same way that we tend to avoid people who are too positive because they upset us and those who are too pessimistic because they bring us down. So we tend to stay in the center of the keyboard with more balanced people, we could say. In the same way that we had measured the number of loose protons in a compound, that is, the pH on a scale of 14 levels, the middle, around 7, 6, 7, 8, are the midpoints of equilibrium useful for life. But if we go to extremes, the base amount on one side or the acid on the other will create a toxic environment for life. So we tend to avoid those notes or items as much as possible. And when one of them sounds, it can create dissonance, which we commonly call error, which in Latin means peccata, that is, sin. For which in English, we take the other Latin origin, sontis, which means guilty. Now, if we decide to forgive from our current concept, this note that has caused a serious fact for us due to its sound, or the one that has generated a sharp pain in our life, we would therefore be forgetting the note, never to play it again. And the truth is that this person will not change with my forgiveness. He will continue to exist, being someone with all the weight of his actions, me. So that forgiveness doesn't really release. I am. Of course not. It's just a moral and emotional placebo. The note still exists, so ignoring it is not a solution. The solution is to give it a purpose in the melody of life. So I'll use them for the society song. And I do it by giving all of me, what I have inside of me, to activate their purpose, making them recognize that they have something that I don't, and that I have something that they don't. And this involves moving my hands around the piano to the extremes, leaving my comfort zone as a victimizer and caressing their cheeks, making them part of the music. And that movement is called will. I use the energy that I consumed to be delivered to those who have lost their purpose, giving them one. Forgiveness is not shown with words, but with actions. Me. In other words, one of the great shortcomings of humanity is not only a question of forgiveness, but of will. And I must say, I have a hard time myself. It's easier to sit back and relax in the comfort of the sofa or bed than it is to get up and do something. Cost. It's like the typical thing we do. On Monday, I start the diet. This week, I start the gym. I'm going to help someone. I have to study for the exam. These are the typical things in life that involve will, and it's already costing us. Imagine saying, I'm going to pick up the phone to talk to that person I fought with. I'm going to find a way to solve that conflict that was pending. I'm going to face my enemies to release this tension that I carry inside. It is very difficult. I am. I don't doubt it. The lack of will is the sample of human conformity in the face of conflicts. Believing that there will always be someone else to do it for us, a teacher, a parent, a politician, an NGO, a scientist. Responsibility is always delegated in an attempt to save as much energy in the individual. Thus, forgiveness does not apply only between the victim and the perpetrator, but must also apply to oneself. Forgive oneself. Forgiving yourself is probably one of the hardest things to do, because we never consider ourselves guilty, but rather victims. And the truth is that whenever we leave something to do, whenever we refuse to face the results of our actions, whenever we have to solve our conflicts, the human prefers not to do it and sit waiting for a savior. It's easier to be the victim. Forgiving oneself is not saying condescendingly, I didn't know what I was doing, now I understand better. No. Forgiving oneself is standing up, taking action, resolving, putting energy to work, using emotion for the generation of something new that solves the old. Me. I understand. And how can I start doing it? I am. Well, the first step is to recognize what I don't forgive myself for. Then recognize what I do not forgive others. Write it down. Make it visible, tangible, physical. And then remember that the way in which the will is activated is through the pulse of adrenaline. Then the body must be purified. Start drinking more water and less sugar. And on each glass or bottle of water, put an intention: will, love, wisdom, forgiveness, freedom, consciousness, clarity. For example, one concept per day. You can think about it looking at the water, or much better, say it to the water before drinking it. I am will. I am love, etc. Thus, its molecules will be ordered according to this new harmony, and they will transmit this information to the water inside you. And the next step will be the food. Start thinking of the things you eat with guilt. Dead animals that have felt pain, anguish, despair, for example, block your inner strength. Change your diet slowly, step by step, throughout a whole year. Never, ever choose Monday to start your diet. Me. Because? I am. Because for your body, it's like parachuting out of a plane. The emotion and the fact last as long as it takes to hit the ground. Then you do not throw yourself again for at least a long time. Take it as going for a bike ride 30 minutes a day, little by little, slow and accessible. Me. I understand. I am. And when you have purified your body for a year, and you have changed your diet, all this with the awareness that you are doing it to give yourself the willpower to act, rewrite what you must forgive in yourself and in others. And there, take action, step by step. You will give yourself, and you will give the best of yourself, and thus you will receive the best of others in the same way. Me. Nothing more to say. I am. Nourish yourself, purge yourself, forgive yourself, act, and forgive others by giving them a purpose in your life and in their lives. Me. I will, because I am will.